It's maple syrup time in Indiana, and today we're visiting our friends Doug Mark and Michael Young at their Maple Creation Sugar Camp in Hendricks County.
Yeah, in 1998, Michael and his wife Lori moved here, and we were walking around the property and noticed that they had some sugar maple trees. So my grandfather had gotten to the point where he couldn't make maple syrup anymore, so we were able to get his equipment and haul it up here from Tennessee, and we started out with 15 taps.
Maple syrup starts with sap from maple trees, and lots of it. At Maple Creations, they use plastic bags and tubing rather than old-fashioned galvanized buckets to catch the sap.
But we have about 175 taps out. That's on bags this year. But we've kind of gone a little ahead this year and done some experimenting with tubing, 3/16 tubing. So we've got
40 taps on tubing in another location.
Collecting sap, even using the latest technology, is labor-intensive work, but fortunately Maple Creations has plenty of help and a tank-equipped utility vehicle. The sap is less than 2% sugar, so it takes many gallons of the raw material to end up with that sweet golden nectar that goes so well with pancakes.
Well, when we start out, giving ourselves plenty of time to start, we get the evaporator set up, we get our equipment out and cleaned up, and then as soon as the weather forecast indicates we're going to have several days of freeze-thaw cycle, because we have to have a nighttime freeze and a daytime thaw, we'll tap the trees. With the tubing, we can actually tap them earlier because it's all under vacuum, it's all tight, so the holes don't start to grow over. With our bagged holes, those start to grow over basically as soon as they're tapped, so we need to wait until it's a little closer to the right weather, but with the tubing we can start a little earlier. So we started end of January? Yeah, but normally, yeah, actually before the middle of January, but normally about the 1st of February is when we can start tapping.
Once the sap is collected, it is taken to the sugar house where it's stored in large tanks until it has a date with the evaporator.
Maybe we'll start better than one with
it. Actually, this is our third rig, and if you ask our wives, it's our final rig. We started out, as Doug said, with his grandfather's pans. He had three pans. We had 3 pans?
3 pans.
3 pans. And we built an arch with cinder blocks, and we imitated much what his grandfather made.
Doug and Michael have come a long way from recycled pans and concrete block fireplaces. Their current evaporator is a commercial model that they bought secondhand in New York and hauled back to Indiana. Next in order was a purpose-built house to hold the beast and tame the incredible amount of moisture that it gives off while boiling down the sap. And, in case you were wondering, this is all considered a hobby operation. This dragon definitely breathes fire and consumes countless cords of wood split by the crew. That makes keeping the firebox topped off one of the most important jobs at the sugar house. It's a hot and non-stop task that requires firefighter coat and gloves, along with the type of face protection usually used by blast furnace workers.
Doug's father, Bob, comes and helps us quite a bit, actually. And actually, right now he's in firing. You'll see him on the video as well. And he helps us a lot. And my dad helps a little bit, but Bob and Doug come down, and it's mostly the 3 of us.
We boil on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so Dad's here usually most Wednesdays and Saturdays. And got to give my wife Julie credit; she did a lot of cleanup today before we could finish our getting ready part of it, which is always the part we hate to do. So we're great at building stuff. The cleanup is not something we're interested in. Last year we built the whole new evaporator room on its own, so that was a whole complete change in setup in our tubing and everything else we have going on, or our inside plumbing. Yeah, plumbing is the most difficult thing.
Plumbing, there you go, plumbing.
Plumbing is definitely the most difficult thing we do, because that's not really in our skill set. We just make it up as we go.
Several trips to the hardware store.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Over and over.
Every outdoor enthusiast has thought at some point, oh gosh, I can tap the maple tree in my backyard and make a couple of gallons of syrup. What would your advice be to folks that are interested in doing this?
Start relatively small. There's a really good resource called Backyard Sugaring. It's a book that you can order that talks about how to start with like a flat steam table pan and a barrel that you got a hole in to fit it in your backyard. But you got to keep in mind that it takes 45 to 50 gallons at least of sap to make a gallon of syrup, and depending on how many trees you have or just how much storage you have and place to put it, until you have that much collected, you can eat up a lot of your space and time and money. Especially money. But start small and get used to what you're doing, because there's no way we could run the evaporator that we have now with knowing what we knew when we started. And now we're have a lot more experience in. We've been doing this since 2000, so we've kind of gotten it down to where we pretty much know what we're doing most of the time.
There you go.
Yeah, why we do it? I mean, the whole thing, it started as, it's part of my family heritage way back, at least to my great-grandfather, making syrup with my grandfather and my dad helping him, and and then we've enjoyed doing that together. We've got a chance to work with our dads and doing it and our kids
our boys,
some.
yeah.
So that's been a great family time as well.
At the end of the day, we could probably take our firewood after we've cut and split it and sell it right then and probably make more profit. But like a lot of the reasons Doug said, we'd like to be able to share just the nature and how nature can give back to us through the wonders of maple and sugaring. And it's a neat thing.